Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
Said yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
Well, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired. Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
All right, welcome to another Cloud Career Q&A session, everybody. My name is Chris Johnson. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Go Cloud Careers. I'm joined by Michael Gibbs, our founder and CEO. and Alonzo Coleman, our Chief of Content Experience. So we are here to answer all of your cloud architect questions, your cloud architect career questions, your cloud engineer questions, everything from what is a cloud architect to how to become a cloud architect to a cloud architect versus a cloud engineer. So, if you've got any questions, that now is the time to ask them. We're here for you. Our goal at Go Cloud Careers is to help everybody reach their dream of a cloud architect job, or whatever that job might be. We want to help you along your path. So make sure to bring those questions in to us. All right. So before we get started with the questions, let me tell everybody about a couple of things. So I want to make sure that everybody is aware of our new and updated AWS exam guide. We actually have a new video course to go along with that. I believe a member of our team will be sharing the link to both of those in the chat box, so that those resources are available for free to you. The free AWS exam guide and the free AWS Certified Solution Architect course. So make sure to take advantage of that while it's available. The next thing I want to make sure everybody is aware of is the webinar. Every Thursday, we have a free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. And on this webinar, we will share everything you need to know to get cloud hired as an architect. If you want to know what a hiring manager actually wants, if you want to know what a cloud architect actually is and actually does, if you want to know if your experience or lack of experience matters, if you want to know why we created a program, if you want to know how to deal with the job descriptions that ask for 300 years of Kubernetes experience, if you want to know all that, join the webinar. And if you want to know exactly what you need to know to become a cloud architect, join the webinar. We'll share all that information with you. We'll also tell you how we can help you along your way. If you choose to work with us, we'd love for you to join us. But you can also use this information if you want to try and do it by yourself. We give it all to you. Make sure you take notes if you're going to try and do it by yourself. We don't like to repeat ourselves too much, so make sure you take some notes. But again, that's for free to basically give you the roadmap of how to become the ultimate cloud architect. That will be next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure to register at the link in the chat box and in the description. So I don't see any questions yet. I need to ask some questions.
No questions. We want to help you get to your goals, everyone. Did you know, statistically speaking, 70% of people receive bad career advice? And those that get it from their friends get really bad career advice. For example, someone is actually providing advice that, hey, if you want to become an architect that designs, presents, and sells, and helps businesses become more profitable, learn DevOps, SysOps, and software development, which has nothing to do with our actual career. And people will literally spend a year of wasted time. The average cloud architect salary is now $199,000 a year. So someone wastes a year on that bad advice. It costs them $200,000. And guess what? It makes their brand look like everything other than a cloud architect. And then we've got to remove that nonsense from people's resumes to help them look like an architect. Now, it's not nonsense if you want to be a DevOps engineer, or it's not nonsense if you want to be a developer, but it's all about being prepared for the job you want. And we want you to be experts at your career. We want you to be the best at your career. And we want you to be like our students, where people are like vultures trying to hire you and reaching out to you every day. So that's why we're here completely free. Help us help you build your best career. So ask your questions.
Yeah, definitely. Ask your questions. Don't be shy. I see we got Robert Welch over in the chat box. We got Robert Welch is recently cloud hired. Well, not recently anymore. I guess it's several months ago now. Cloud hired without any previous experience in the cloud. Glad to see you joining us there, Robert. Alex is here. Glad to see you, Alex. All right. Sai says, hey guys, nice to be here again. It's Sai from yesterday's webinar. You didn't send the link of yesterday's video, or maybe I didn't receive it. No, we haven't sent it out yet. There's a snag on the processing of that recording. As soon as it's through processing, we'll be sending that out. Don't want to send out a broken link to anybody. So that will be coming out today. Had to open a ticket with the webinar platform for that.
We leverage such high-grade videos that sometimes we actually break the platforms that are there. That's why in many cases we actually use our own platforms and don't rely on anybody's software as a service platform, because it's kind of like McDonald's. You know, when you design your own custom things, they do what you want. When you believe in software as a service, so to speak, it's like McDonald's. Would you like fries with that? Usually it works, but it's not the level of like the infrastructure of the service where you can design and build it exactly the way you want it to your performance needs.
All right. Well, I guess nobody has any questions, and everybody knows exactly what they need to do when they're already hired. So
I guess they're clairvoyant.
I guess we accomplished our goal. We got everybody hired. But let's. There's one question I do want to ask, because we get asked all the time. I don't have any experience. Can I become a cloud architect?
Why not? So, you know, this is the funniest thing, and we hear this all the time. And, you know, imagine a world where doctors don't get hired because they have no experience. Airplane pilots aren't able to fly a plane because they don't have any experience. Lawyers aren't hired because they didn't work in, I don't know, the mailroom for the last 20 years. It's just insanity. And, you know, whether it's Daniel Bosa, who didn't even graduate high school, who we got his first cloud architect job, Ivan Tamba over there at AWS, who we got his first cloud architect job, and no, it wasn't an associate architect, it was a real architect role, or Coyote, who was a college student who got hired at AWS, or whether it was, for example, Jennifer at JP Morgan Chase, the mental health tech, or whether it was Jermaine, who was a landscaper who got his first cloud architect job, he got hired by a great cloud company, or whether it was, I could go on and go on and go on, but the point is you need to be great at your job. So let's separate those that get hired versus those that don't. The best get hired. Sad reality is the worst get laid off, but the best get hired. And the cream always rises to the top. I had a manager, his name was Joe. He was a master sergeant in the Marine Corps. And I'd been in this company for 3 days and they did a 30% layoff. And he's like, Gibbs, you're a rock star. Don't worry. And I remember I took this job as a principal consulting systems architect. I had 1 year experience at the time. 1 year experience at the time. That's it. And I'd been consulting to the world's largest organizations. And one day I let it slip to one of the directors of the company that I only had 1 year experience. And he's like, yeah, I know. But he's like, don't tell anybody else at the company because I don't want them to know you're that good with no experience. Just keep it to yourself, Mike.
Yeah, I think, like I said, we literally get that question all the time. I mean, experience is just, and the reason we get that question is because of job descriptions.
Yeah.
You know, every job description you see, even for an entry level at a college position, they specifically market it to entry level at a college people. They say 5 years of experience is required.
Yeah, like, 5 years of experience is required for everything.
Like that's the minimum number. 5 years of experience. 5 years of experience. 5 years of experience.
5 years for an architect. 5 years for a help desk. 5 years for a cloud admin. But let's really dissect that for a second. Why? What people don't want is somebody that has a paper certification. They want someone that has competency and knowledge. And what they're trying to avoid is, you know, I get emailed resumes every day from people that want to work here. Heck, I have somebody that recently wanted me to teach him cloud, and he has a course on Udemy. It's like, teach me how I can do cloud so I get a cloud job. It's competency or the ability to do the job that matters. But they know many people pass a certification and say, hey, hire me. And they don't want that. So they're trying to use this at discretion. So what's wrong with the certifications? Well, a lot. So it's not that I have a dislike against certifications. 20 years ago, the Cisco Certified Internet Expert was the best certification in the world. And it was enough to get hired. And why? It was 75,000 pages of reading to pass this monster exam. So that's right, I said 75,000. An AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is about 500 pages of reading. So what's that, 15,000% more comprehensive to do it? And it wasn't just in those days where you had a paper test. We had a qualification exam, which was about the same level as the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. And you had to pass that for the privilege of taking this $1,200 exam that had a 6-month wait and a 90+% failure rate. So in those days, it meant something. And then a couple things happened. There were websites that you could buy literally copies of the exam. Now I could point you to people that will literally take your exams for you and pass them for you with a fake ID. And guess what? You'll be certified in everything, but that's the key. So people know that they need the ability to do the job or quality and competency. So they put up this stuff as roadblocks. They don't want you applying unless you're competent. So the point is if you're competent and you have the right brand, the world will come to you, just like they came to Robert Welch. He didn't apply for jobs.
All right. So let's see. We've got a question here from Rock and Rolla.
I like this one.
What type of coding languages what type of coding languages I need to know to be a cloud architect? Alonzo, what type of coding languages do we need?
Nope, nil, nada, zero. You don't need any type of coding. You don't need out of Bootstrap. You don't need to do any of that rock and roll. What you need is competency of the tech, how to present the tech and how to sell the tech. So do not worry about learning Python, scripting, or anything else.
Exactly. And I'm going to ask a question. Where do we think that question comes from, everybody? The job descriptions.
And who writes the job descriptions?
Nobody writes them. Everybody just copy and paste. All right.
It's one of those hilarious questions. So here's the thing. People misunderstand the architect job. They think it's engineering. We don't touch the tech. I'm going to say it again. We don't touch the tech. And I'm going to say it one more time. We don't touch the tech. We design, present, and sell. But you don't have to listen to me. Listen to CIO Magazine. The CIO is your boss. The CIO determines all the hiring decisions in the entire company. And here's the good news. Gartner actually asked them and said, what do you want in a CIO? And here's what they said. Someone that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, someone that can develop and coordinate the architecture, meaning the design. Someone could develop the cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. Someone that could help find talent with necessary skills. Someone who could assess the application software and hardware. Someone that could create a cloud broker team. Someone that could establish best practices for the cloud across the company. Someone that could help pick cloud providers and vet third-party services. Someone who could oversee governance and mitigate risk. Someone that could work with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate costs and operate at scale. Now, in there, did you hear anything related to coding, configuring, or testing the tech? No. So that's somebody else's job. Be a master of your job and let somebody else worry about coding. And guess what? While they're learning the coding, you're learning system architecture and design, they're not getting hired, you will be. Because they won't be prepared to be an architect, maybe a software engineer, but not an architect.
And the another thing about this whole coding language thing, the more, and not just related to coding language, but the more, and this is an endearing term, the more techie stuff that we have on our brand, the more likely we're going to get pushed towards a role that we don't want, because that's how hiring managers will steer the conversation. They see things that they can grasp onto, and if the only things that they can grasp onto are technical things, then that's where you're going to end up. And we get that a lot. We hear from a lot of people. I keep getting asked technical questions. I keep getting asked getting asked about my knowledge of X, Y, and Z, and that. Well, let me see your resume.
Yeah,
that's all that's on the resume. No wonder that's what you keep getting asked about. That's no wonder they keep asking you the technical questions and the engineering questions or the DevOps questions, because that's what's on your resume.
Yeah.
Should we give everybody the reality of the future of architecture as well as the future of the techie careers?
Oh, well, I got a question that's coming up next, and I was going to start off the answer, and I think that's what you saw.
It wasn't actually, but I love the idea.
So Igor asked, do you think that in 2023 there will still be big need for cloud architects? So this week, the U.S. Department of Defense says we're going to spend $9 billion to start with on cloud, and we're going to split it across 4 cloud platforms. Yes, there's going to be a need.
Can you
$9
imagine
billion
the time?
over the next 3 years as a start, just from one organization.
Start.
And here's the thing, and here's the future. You know, when I started, the world loved techies. We network engineers. It was like, I need people that can make the tech work. And here's the reason why. The tech was enormously complicated. Nobody understood it. And if you were so good as an engineer, even if you forgot to shower, nobody cared because it was rare to find it. Then there were some changes. First, the tech got better. Then it got a lot better and started to work. Then the tech got user-friendly. And I'm going to give you the secret, the real secret. The architects are going to be the most needed roles in the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And here's the reason why. The architect is the person that asks about the business. Mr. CEO, Mrs. CEO, Mrs. CFO, Mr. CTO, what's your business goals? And they design a plan to solve those business problems. That, the soft skills, the leadership skills, the executive presence, the emotional intelligence, and the sales skills, that's the future. The people that can put the pieces together to impact business performance. Here's my future prediction. Engineering jobs are going to die in the future. Why are coding jobs going to die in the future? Well, artificial intelligence can start to write its own code. Artificial intelligence can configure it. So you're either on the design side, like me and the architects, or you're going to plan yourselves into these hardcore engineering jobs. And guess what? They're either going to be outsourced overseas because it doesn't matter if your programmers are in Cameroon, Cambodia, Chicago, or California. No, but you know what? If you're in California, you need to earn $416,000 just to have a house, a basic house, because the average house is $1.54 million. If you're in Cameroon, you can buy a house for $24,000. So where do you think the employer is going to find an employee that's happy and excited to work? Cameroon, because they don't need to pay somebody $416,000. They can pay them a lot less, and the person will be rich, rich, rich. In my village in Greece, I could live beautifully on 30,000 euros a year. Can't do that in New York. If I was in my village in Greece and somebody paid me 5,000 euros a month, I'd be the richest man over there. I'd have servants. It'd be the coolest thing ever. But in New York, where the average rent is $5,200 for a small one-bedroom studio apartment,
a closet.
I need $100,000 a year just to pay my rent by the time you're done paying taxes, because you've got 30% taxes and 13% New York City wage taxes. So you need $100,000 just to pay my rent, just the rent, not even to eat. So that's the point. The point is huge future for architects. I see the engineering future going down and down and down, but I see engineering being very bright for people in the developing world. People like me from a little Khrio or village in Greece, people in India, Pakistan with great engineering education. Lots of future. Look at Nigeria has a brand new AWS facility. South Africa is getting one. That's where I see engineering going, to very hardworking, highly motivated people. But the architect meets with the client every day. They go sell it. So not only I think 2023 will be the year of the future, even with a questionable economy, I think when we get into the next business cycle, it's going to be architect, architect, architect. And I've watched the trend over the years. First, it was the engineers that were the key to the world. Then they got pushed down, and the architects get paid more and more and more and more. So I think it's going to be a great time for architects.
All right, so we got David here from Nigeria joining us.
Hello, David.
Hey, David, we love seeing you today. David's a great student of ours.
RDJ's got it right. Competence over experience. Amar, hello.
Amar.
Okay, Soprano says, what are the first steps you would take when taking over a project as a solution architect and the predecessor is not available for handover? Ooh, that's a good question.
That's a good question. So it's funny, Soprano, I'm going to be writing a LinkedIn post about this, which I already wrote. I'm going to post it as soon as this is over. Now, the first thing to understand as an architect, your primary job, one of the most critical,
Mike's
Is that me or Mike?
I think it's Mike.
That is Mike. All right. So,
well, there might not be any knowledge transfer documentation. So, let me see.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start off with the answer from a non-technical standpoint. Because I've had to do this many times.
There he is.
So, you're back.
I've got 3 internet service providers, and it takes BGP about 60 seconds from the time one internet service provider goes down before you go to the other. You know how I say, don't put all your eggs in one basket and never use a single service provider or cloud provider? That's the reason why AT&T's down, but Verizon's still up. So, okay, let's go back to this. So when I first became an enterprise architect, and that's a big role, I went and did the following. I asked every distinguished architect and principal architect I could find, all the architects that were making $300,000 to $500,000 a year, and that's going back, almost 20 years ago. I said, what do I need to do as an architect? And they said, herd cats. And I said, herd cats. Now, I love cats, okay? And they said, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean herd cats? They said, here's what you need to do. They said, you can either pretend you're a genius architect and try to design it yourself, or, and I said, what's the or? They said, or if you really want to help your customer, you're going to build a team of the best and brightest minds you can find. I said, best and brightest minds? They said, yes. They said, which do you think your customer is going to like? You with your level of experience, or 50 people that have 15 to 20 years experience each? So you got 1,000 years of experience versus your 5. You know what? 1,000, right? And they said, good. So they said, you want to know why it's called herding cats? And I said, yeah, tell me, because I love cats. And they said, you're going to work with geniuses. And when you work with geniuses, they're a little eccentric. And I said, what do you mean eccentric? And they said, these are the recommended people I call you for this architecture. One guy would not shower more than once a week because he thought it was a waste of water. I am not joking. One guy that I worked with only ate green M&Ms. One guy wore a black t-shirt every day. He had 14 of them, so he wouldn't have to do his laundry or think about which black t-shirt or which tan pants he was going to wear every single day of the week. And it goes on and it goes on and goes on, because when you're dealing with geniuses, whoa, they're a little unique. They're also incredibly good people. One person would only eat pizza with anchovies on it. I could go on about what it's like. And the point is, when you're dealing with cats, and my cat Cindy's a good example, if I say, Cindy, I would like to go to sleep now, it's time to cuddle with me, she's going to look at me and go, scratch at the door to go out. Because she's a genius. She does all that. Now, when she goes out, she brings me like things that are 10 times her size because she's smart enough and fast enough to do it. So the first thing that you need to do is as follows. Go talk to your customer. Introduce yourself to the customer. Buy them lunches, dinners, drinks on the company account. Play golf with your customer. 30% of the job is entertaining clients. Get to know your customer. Then take your customers' engineers out. Take your customers' architects out. Really learn about the customer and their team. Then what you need to do is go on your team and go find all the genius engineers that have worked on this project. Find the people that have been coding and configuring this thing. Find your DevOps engineers. Now, find the people that implemented the team, usually part of the service delivery team. Go talk to them. Read the documentation. When you're done it, build your own set of documentation. There should be a good 200 to 300 page architectural document that goes with it. And then start meeting people. Talk to their managers. And then have another confirmation meeting with your customer to make sure what's been done in the past is their future goals. Now, those are the things. Look, lots of times people are going to be laid off, or they're going to quit, or they're going to go to a new job, or it wasn't documented properly. And there were times where you got to go build a team of engineers to go find everything that you need. But the key is, it's not something that's ever done by one man or one woman. Architecture is a team sport. And the first thing you need to do is realize it's not your tech skills, it's your relationship building skills. How do you get those 50 people to want to work for you that don't report to you? So that's why we teach so much of that in our program, because people that think they can do it via tech, they struggle. So first thing, go meet everybody. Go talk to everybody. Go find what's been done. Go look at the as-built architecture as it's been built. Go look at the proposed architecture and go talk to your customer and invest some serious time with your customer at first. Learn what they're experiencing, because maybe the architecture is wrong. Ask what's working, what's not working, and get a hold of their business goals. Because if you do, you'll be able to help them with their next things. So the first steps are go meet people, go talk to people, interview everybody, ask the right questions, see what's working, see what's not working, and then you'll know where to go. Good question, by the way.
Good answer.
All right. So Amar says, looking for a career dedicated to cloud architect for the next 10 to 15 years. Currently, I am 29, but fond of the cloud.
Hey,
great career to go after.
Strap in.
Yeah.
For the next 10 to 20, I mean, 10 to 15, it could be more than that, Amar, if that's what you want to do.
Oh, yeah. And the key is, we train our people very differently. There are people that are obsessed with certifications. And, I'm not here to tell you what you should do in your life, but I want to give you the facts. Because the facts will really help you. You can become a certification junkie. And if you become a certification junkie, you're going to never be able to get the high-end paying jobs. And here's the reason why. The high-end paying jobs are all about your business acumen and your sales skills. But if you want to be a great architect, the high-end jobs are about this. And I'll show you, a job description for a very high-end job. And then I'll show you what the job pays. And first, I'm going to show you in the description what it actually says, what you're really going to be doing. And this is why we train our architects differently. And this is why our architects get paid so much higher than the average, the people that are obsessed, for example, on certifications. And Chris, if you can show this. So if you look at the chief architect key responsibilities, and this is what I've done in my life. Make clear, simple, and technology superior decisions. Apply an exceptionally high quality bar to the core technical decisions, data structures, algorithms, architectural patterns, and leverage third-party implementations, because you're never going to use like just AWS services. Utilize force multipliers, means other people, mentoring them by providing high-quality feedback on their work, and synthesize your decisions and designs into clear structure. But look very carefully. When you start looking at these things, it's really about your communication skills and your leadership skills. Now, while we're at it, what do you think a job like this pays? I'll show you. And this is why we train our architects differently. And this is why, me and all the other architects I know had $250,000 jobs 25 years ago, before inflation. Now, this is in Florida, which has some of the lowest pay, by the way, of any place in the country. I like it because it's got warm weather and palm trees. But this is what an architect job pays with senior level. Chris, if you want to share this. This is an $800,000 architect job.
And no, this is not Photoshop.
No, this is not Photoshop. You can go search it on LinkedIn yourself. I can show you one from Google that's got a base pay of $287, plus employee stock purchase options, plus a bonus, which is 30+%, plus stock grants and all these other things, which is another $500,000 job. And the point is there's so many of them. So your future as an architect grows, grows, and grows. Some of our architects, we had an architect go in an interview, and they asked him if he wanted to be a chief information officer instead. So that's the key. Architecture is a beautiful career to either architecture roles or chief technology officer roles, CIO roles, directors of things. But Amar, here's the key. If you become a certification junkie, you're not going to get them. And here's why. Once people see you as a techie, they will never put you in a high-paying job. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. When I get people to come to me and they struggle, they get bad offers, we've removed many of their certifications. And then we reword their resume to show the business leader in them. And then they go from a $100,000 job to a $300,000 job. So don't tank your career with too many certifications. It will crush your career. And if you have them, and I like to get certification tests periodically because I think it's fun. I just don't put them on my resume. I did when I was young as an engineer, but we're architects, not engineers. And our goal is not configuring. It's to improve a customer's business performance. So you're going to have a brilliant career. Brilliant career.
Let's keep these. I love Gear Z Net's response to that salary.
Yeah, mind blown. All right, so a couple of questions that I don't think we're really going to answer in depth here because it's what we do in our training program. But RCE asked how to speak with the C-suite, and then how to build a solution for a small business without a team, small office under 100 employees.
Well, that's what we teach. No, there's two ways you can learn about how to speak to the C-suite. I personally have a $100,000 education in it, and I'm not joking in it. Cisco would send me to $5,000 course, $5,000 course, $5,000 course. I took at least 4 to 6 of them, and I did an MBA, and I took about 10 more courses on executive communication, and it was well over $100,000 just to learn that. Now, I know most people can't afford that, and that's why we teach that either in our Tech Career Accelerator program or our Cloud Architect Career Development program, because without that, you're not going to get there. So you've got lots of ways you can do it. You could train with us, or you can buy this education. Personally, I don't care. I just want you to have the world's greatest career and earn more and have a life that you love. Now, as far as how to do architectural designs, that's what we do. Well, the certification people are teaching the name of a service and how to configure that service. We teach you architecture. That's what we do. We create the world's greatest architects. But that's why that takes us 500 hours to teach, by the way, 500 hours. And that's why architects like ours get paid between $120 and $287. Those were the offers this year, with the average person that's never worked in tech around $150. And no, people don't always prefer engineers. In many cases, we have people that have worked as cloud engineers for 5 and 10 years to come to us. And we need to basically teach them how to get rid of all the engineering on their resume and turn into being an architect.
I love Bob Welch's response.
Bob is a phenomenal security architect. We love Bob. He was one of my students, and we are ecstatic about his career and where he's gone. And every time Bob comes to class, comes to one of our webinars, we're honored by his presence, and you can't imagine how much we all love Bob.
Bob is awesome. It's wonderful how he talked about when speaking to a CTO, I learned that a recent audit uncovered nearly 6,000 critical vulnerabilities. That means he understands how to speak to a CTO, what to say, how to get the information that's necessary to create valuation and create solutions for these companies. Now, it has nothing to do with code, but it has everything to do with building those relationships and understanding who's around you and how, no matter where you are, you can leave them better than when you found them.
Exactly.
I'm going to put a couple of things up, and I'm going to start off with my response to this, and I'll let Alonzo and Mike chime in. Let me put all of them up there and read them all off before you chime in.
I'm chomping at the bit, and I don't
I
even
know.
know.
As soon as Mike sees it, he's going to stop me. Please,
do I need
to read them all.
Chris?
I'm gonna mute Mike. All right. InfoSci says, I agree competency plays a big role in job hunting, which is how I have landed my first job in IT without experience or certification. But this is not always going to be the case in certain job roles. It's not always the case everywhere. I can speak for the UK job market. If you've not done this before in production environment, it's a no from the employer. A lot of people struggle with this, not that we don't know what we're doing, but just because we haven't worked at cloud engineer, they don't bother. They rather employ someone else who has worked before in that role. Just my thought. So I've got 3 names. Ian, Wallace, and Ria are the first 3 names that come to my mind that are in the UK that got jobs without any prior experience. So
And
those are the first 3 that come to mind.
who was the gentleman who got hired on at BBC?
On a what?
He got hired at BBC. I remember the job offer.
Lemon.
I can't remember the name.
Yeah, Lemon. He had no experience either. So that's 4. Just off the top of my head, that's 4 people in the UK that I can spout off the top of my head that were employed without prior experience. But anyway, I wanted to make sure that I got to read all those off before you chimed in.
So it's not true, and we could give you example after example, but I will tell you one thing. In the UK, they're even more obsessed with executive presence or gravitas, emotional intelligence, soft skills, and leadership skills. And if someone feels like a techie, oh, you don't have experience. So what does experience mean when you hear come back when you have more experience? I went on jobs that wanted experience and never had any. In fact, on my first interview, I interviewed to be a network engineer. And at the end of the interview, they said, I like you, Mike, but you're not a network engineer. You're a senior network engineer. And even though you've never worked in tech, you're better than 2/3 of my team. Now, I've worked in the UK. I've worked in Scotland. I've worked in every country in the world. We even had somebody get hired in New Zealand, a rainforest country, beautiful place that was recently hired as a solution architect. We had two or three $300,000 a year people in Australia that got hired very recently. So no, it's not true at all. The key is, how do you position yourself? Do you have the right brand? Now, if you don't know how to build your brand, they're going to come back. Now, if you go on an interview and a bomb in the interview,
there
you go, Wallace.
Wallace.
Sorry, he just popped up. I didn't know he was going to be here.
Perfect timing.
Wallace, we're thrilled to see you. Wallace not only got a cloud architect job, he got an enterprise architect job, which is even better.
Yeah, that one. He and I are still trying to sync up to do an interview. But sorry.
I remember when Wallace sent me the message that I got hired, and then the beauty in that message, and I was just so happy. In fact, I texted it to Alonzo and everyone else.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's all it's gotten to a point that it's muscle memory that I pick it up at a certain time because I'm expecting some good news from someone getting hired.
They always come at the end of the day.
Yeah,
they're always at the end of the day, like right before you go to bed. All right, but yeah, so it's not true. It's just employers are afraid to tell the truth.
Yeah, and it's always about how you can position yourself on your resume. That is your ambassador that oftentimes goes before you're able to drill down on your competency. So, ensuring that you have the right messaging on your resume probably is a good indicator of why things may not be going your way.
So bring us your questions. We want to make sure we answer any of your questions. I don't have any more in the chat box, so I want to.
Come on, it's Friday. This is our time. Come on, let's bring out the in the week strong with great questions. I'm hoping that everyone is ready to get their cloud career jump started. And it starts today. It could start as easily as today for us sharing your questions, whether you want to work with us or not. But we're hoping that you're able to have your questions answered, start your career and your journey to becoming an awesome cloud architect with an environment with such salaries as what we shared with you. So go for it.
Yeah, so RCE they keep asking questions that are about our program. How to work C2C. I'm guessing that's so B2C is business to consumer. So I'm guessing C2C is consumer to consumer?
Yeah. Corp to corp.
Or corporate to corporate. Because usually when you say B2B, it's B2B. Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you clarify RCE what you mean by C2C? And it might just be a language thing. I'm not sure.
And while we're at it, RCE, I'm going to tell you this. Architects never use abbreviations, ever. Because the second you use an abbreviation or acronym, you leave room for errors. In fact, 80% of all errors occur due to poor communications, and acronyms are never used for that reason. Now, in engineering, they're used, but in architecture, what's going on is you're going to be dealing with executives, and executives don't understand this either.
How to work corporate to corporate. Ooh, that's
what happens to do corp to corp is you have to be really, really good at the job, and then they'll hire you as a consultant. But it's not the first thing is first you got to become a great architect and work for a couple of years, and then you can do corp to corp. Because the reality is, when you're paying a consultant, you're paying them $200 an hour. And if you're going to pay somebody $200 an hour, the expectation is you don't have to spend 6 months training them, and they're ready to go work and run. So you got to get a couple of years experience as an architect. So first become a great architect, build your reputation as an architect, and then you'll have plenty of corp to corp opportunities.
Oh yeah. And especially with the we just said with the DOD ready to shell out $9 billion in money and spread it across. Can you imagine the projects, the length of time needed to get all that squared away? It's an awesome opportunity for hundreds and thousands. And how many, Mike, could you share how many cloud architect positions are out there, ratio, like an assumption of ratio of jobs to qualified candidates?
I'm sure there's at least 100,000 unfilled architect positions right now.
The key there was the word qualified. The qualified candidate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, Chris caught it.
You snuck that in there, Alonzo.
Equality, yep.
The amount of job openings compared to the amount of qualified candidates, I'd easily say 10 to 1. 10 openings for every qualified candidate.
Oh, I would say it's more of 1,000 to 1.
Yeah, I'm trying to not come across hyperbolic. Even though that's the reality, it can sound hyperbolic.
Well, to put it into context, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people from the AWS certification programs that were out there, because otherwise I would have just stayed in retirement. And I couldn't find one that knew design. I knew plenty that knew configuration, plenty that knew coding, plenty that, knew how to build stuff by hand, but that has nothing to do with architect work.
Okay, so let's see what RCE says. Currently, I'm trying to learn how to build a solution end-to-end in Azure to get some hands-on experience for the AZ305 exam.
RCE, you just proved my point. Architects don't build anything. That is not relevant hands-on experience. So let's talk about architects outside of the cloud, because it's the same thing. Let's say I wanted to hire an architect to design a hotel for me. I like hotels, right? I live in South Florida. They got a bunch of beautiful ones. And I wanted a big, beautiful 30-story hotel on the beach with 3 pools, a luxurious golf course, and 2 restaurants. And let's say you just told me that you just learned how to be a landscaper. You learned how to use a saw. You learned how to use a drill. You learned how to use a hammer. And I said, great, RCE, now design my hotel. All that hands-on training in the world is completely worthless with regards to designing the hotel. See, you're training in engineering, and then you want to get an architect job. For an architect, you have to learn how to design the hotel. You don't learn how to design anything by building. You learn building by building.
And I'm just as an observation based on your questioning, RCE, there seems to be a lot of this and that here and there. To be successful, make sure you streamline what you're trying to do and what you want to do and be able to showcase that. Just a quick thought.
Yeah. So I want to make sure everybody knows we'll be wrapping up at 11. So we've got 10 more minutes with all of you. Make sure to get those questions in while we're still here so that we can help you out. I see there's 37 people watching. Oh, now 40 people watching. But,
don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, everyone, please.
But I don't think we've had 40 questions for 40 people. So all we want to do is help you. That's why we come on here. So looking forward to those questions. In the meantime, want to make sure that everybody follows us on LinkedIn. Follow both Mike and the Go Cloud Careers page. Our colleague Collins just put the links there to those in our chat box. So make sure you're following us there so that you always stay up to speed. I'm starting to say up to speed and on top of things at the same time.
Up to top.
We get up to top. But yeah, make sure you're following us there so that we
you'll see things maybe next week. You'll see, we were just rated #1 online provider of cloud computing education. You may see that coming out next week and things like that. There's a couple of teasers. We write magazine articles every single week, those kind of things. We wrote a few this week. We were featured in Yahoo Finance and MSN this week for articles we wrote on interview tactics and knowing how to read the interview. So got to have a lot of things that are going to help you with your cloud education on our LinkedIn page.
So yeah, let us know. You got a question? What is that? A question or a statement? Thank you, guys. Answer the question out of my mind. Is there enough jobs for cloud architects? Yes. Yes. See, the problem that we have and the benefit to people that listen to us is that there's a lot of people that are getting the wrong training as an architect. So it seems like you're getting a lot of people trained to fill these roles, when in reality, you're getting a lot of people trained wrong that will be good at other roles. And once they get in an interview, they have a difficult time convincing and portraying their competency because they don't have the necessary skill set for the architect role. So for those that listen to our guidance, you'll be in a better position than most other people. Hey, see, I give you guys a deadline and you start coming in with questions. All right. Thanks, guys, for the answers and confirming that I just needed to hear that. Great.
That's what we're here for.
That's why we do what we
we're
do.
able to help.
Okay, let's see what this says. It says 2 of them back to back. Agreed. I have DevOps and then software engineering experience. My first architect job is a lead architect and never hands-on. Your attitude, energy, and ability to get information out of the C-suite is important. Only using engineering knowledge to translate and mentor developers and other stakeholders 30% of the time, but no hands-on whatsoever, just orchestration. And you're only doing that because you have the knowledge.
Yes.
If you didn't have the knowledge, it wouldn't be expected of you.
Right.
And you wouldn't be doing it. So, but that's perfect. That's great. You're sharing what you know with others to help them, but it's not part of your job.
Right.
For your day-to-day activities. So thank you for sharing that.
And that's the key. We all bring different gifts. My gift was networking. So I always taught networking to people along the way because that's where I started. As I got older in my career, I started to teach less tech to the people that I worked with in the tech companies and more leadership. Because then they would say, Mike, not how do I get an architect job? They would say, how do I get the enterprise architect job? Or the principal or distinguished architect jobs. Then I started teaching those. We all have a gift, and I love that you're sharing your gift there. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for making the world better. And thank you for improving the tech community, Soprano.
Yep. Thank you for putting out good content. You're very welcome. Are there any mandatory certifications? No. Period. Sorry. I'm not even
just stop there. Amar, I gotta take this. Amar,
before you do it, Bob, let us know what your certifications for your 6 salary.
Bob can say it better than I.
All right, but Alonzo, I'll let you go.
Amar, there's been too much emphasis, too much value, too much attention on certifications. Certifications mean little to nothing. It may get you an interview that say that your competency that companies are interested in, not a piece of paper. It doesn't say anything. All it says is that you are certified in some information. It doesn't say you know how to use it, present it, or sell it. So it's important that you understand the differences in the valuation as opposed to being a competent cloud architect.
And Delroy Batt, our student, had 0 certifications when he got hired. In fact, I have another recent architect. I'm going to call him Big D. Here's the text message he sent me last night. Mike, being an SA is pretty cool. People send you random stuff all the time, like fancy cheese. Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
I love that text.
Fancy cheese.
Out of anything, D said fancy cheese. Hey,
well, the other day he was like, he's like, I'm taking my golf lessons are going well. Then he told me, hey, I went to the best steakhouse in Atlanta the other day. This is the coolest job ever.
See, there you go. Robert Welch has a 6-figure, well-paying job.
Yeah.
And he had an AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, which is the certification that we don't recommend. Pretty sure he got it before he got to us. But yeah, that and there's just so many examples of people that we've worked with that don't have certification. We've got people that are getting paid to get the certifications. Like I remember Jeffrey pointed that out to me. Jeffrey West, we got a video on our YouTube channel from Jeffrey. He pointed that out in his discussion with me. He's like, yeah, they paid me to get my certification after a couple of months.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually,
because a lot of companies they need that to bolster their partnerships with the different providers and things like that. They having a certain number of certified XYZ on your staff makes you like a partner or whatever, that type of stuff. So that's why they pay them to get their certification.
I mean, that's kind of cool. You work really hard to try to get this stuff, but it's your competency that gets you through. And then just as a measure of faith, they're willing to comp you a certification. I mean, you already got a great job. You're locked in, but be able to add that.
look at that, Alonzo.
What'd you say? Correct. I got it before I joined. Work is paying for me to get the CISSP. Yeah. I mean, it's the competency that got you through the door. You are the cake. They're going to crown you with the icing. So bring your A game. Put the proverbial. You are the cake batter. Go through the course. Turn yourself into that awesome cake. Crown yourself with competency and let everything else fall into place, Amar.
Yeah. All right. So we'll close out with this question here from Lady Godiva, and it's my current favorite topic. What do you think about the market for architects and how you think it will be effective with the new government contract? If you think there's too many job openings now for cloud architects, what just happened with the Department of Defense contract is just going to blow that out of the water.
Yeah.
And the amount of openings that over the next 3 to 5 years, just from the ripple effect of that across the entire industry.
And the amount of money to be made there. And then you're going to have other side benefits. If you like working in that industry and you're able to get certain access to certain information, they would be willing to pay for a security clearance. And that will increase your valuation tremendously. Each security depends on what level of security they offer, but at least those security clearances cost about $16,000 a piece. So if you're providing that valuation and you're the awesome architect we know you can be, and having that accessibility, oh my goodness, that's going to be tremendous for anyone.
Yeah.
And regarding the engineers that have been recently laid off, the architects are still being hired. So, letting it out, I want to give the harsh reality. Like, I speak truth. It's not always the positive, polite thing, but I believe in speaking the truth. Most good organizations were based, and all of us managers were trained initially from the Jack Welch Management Institute or lessons from the Jack Welch Management Institute. And here's what it taught. It taught if you want an elite organization, you have to have the best. And part of the Jack Welch Management Institute, and you can see it at the best tech companies of the world, is that every year you stack rank your employees. Your people that are your top 10%, you promote them. Your people that are your mid-tier, you keep them. Your bottom 10%, you lay off at the earliest opportunity. And here's why. When you have rock star players, everybody feeds off each other. They're competitive and they keep growing. When you have bad players, what happens is the good players start to get upset. And they start to say, why am I getting paid the same as this other person that does nothing? And then what happens is your good people, your rock stars say, well, if the bottom is getting paid the same as the top, why should I work here? And the good people leave because they get recruited every day. And then the bottom people stay. So it's very common for organizations to lay off the bottom people. And then the second set of people that get laid off, even as a bot, are engineering and software development people. And why? See, an architect like me or Lady Godiva like you'll be, you're going to be meeting with the client. You're going to be bringing in some money. And you're a source of business for the company. But regarding the engineer, it takes $416,000 a year to be able to afford a 2-bedroom home in San Francisco. So if you have an engineer that you're paying $200,000 a year to in San Francisco, and that engineer, you probably had to pay an H-1B visa to bring in a super smart, educated person from India in the first place. Now, if I told you that when you're dealing with pricing parity and you take dollars and you convert them, $56,000 in India is equivalent to $200,000 in the US. Why would you have to pay to bring someone from another country to the US to do the job when you could just hire them overseas and hire 3 people or 4 people for the same price and increase your output? And Lady Godiva, that's why we don't focus on engineering right now. In a good job market, we'll teach engineers because we love engineers. In a bad job market, we pause taking people into our engineering program. Why? Because I don't ever want to train someone if I don't feel like we can get them a job in the end. So I think the market's great. I think there's plenty of opportunities and you're going to be doing great. I can't speak too much more because my voice is a little challenged. I'm trying to speak a little more each day.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have the timer.
Yeah.
Do you have the buzzer, Chris?
Oh, no. All right. So that's all we've got for today. Mike just mentioned it. He self-edited himself, thankfully. Got his voice. We're trying to keep it to a minimum. So again, just want to wrap things up by reminding everybody about about our webinar next Thursday. If you want to learn how to get your first cloud architect job, how to become to I don't understand what you're saying. Just say it.
I want to put up Soprino's comment about how he used our interview videos to get his first architect job.
Okay.
Chris, you want to read that?
Oh, and one more thing. I actually used one of your interview tip videos to land the current role, and they asked about 60% of the questions in the video.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome.
Mike, thoughts?
So
yeah, put it up for you.
I brought it up for the audience because I wanted them to get the right thing. So Soprino, thank you for letting our audience know we do everything we can to help the world get cloud hired. Whether our students or not our students, we want to change lives and bring generational wealth to our clientele, free clientele, paid clientele. So thank you for sharing that information. I'm going to let Chris close it, but one thing that I'm going to say is just go after your dreams. If you have a career like I had, where you're doing internal medicine and you like it but don't love it, and you like tech, go after it. If you're Delroy Bat, who I love, comes visits me in Florida all the time. He's like the son I never had. He was a paramedic or an EMT. Now he's a security architect. Go after your dreams and never, ever, ever let anybody hold you back.
All right. Yeah, I didn't. There's a delay on the API, so I don't see those when they come in on YouTube if I'm watching StreamYard. So I didn't know what you were talking about. All right. So like I was saying, make sure you register for our webinar next Thursday, where we'll go over exactly what you need to become a cloud architect and how we can help you do that. You can do it with us or you can do it on your own. We're going to tell you exactly what you need to know. So make sure you join us next Thursday at 1 p.m. You can register at the link that Collins just shared in the chat box. Also, make sure you get your free copy of the AWS exam guide. This is our updated version for the newest version of the exams, both the Architect Associate and the Professional. There's also a video course for the Associate that we just released this week. So you can take advantage of both of those free resources and move forward. I like Garesh's comment. The interviewer might be watching these videos. That's probably why you're asking asking the questions. And of course, make sure you're following us on LinkedIn, both Mike's account and Go Cloud Careers account, so that you can stay on top of everything that we're doing. We'll have those links posted in the chat box and in the description. And Robert Welch, we'll close out with your comment. If you want to change your life, join this program. It's worth the time and effort.
You heard it here, folks, and from our alumni. This is what we do. This is what we're passionate about. And if you didn't ask questions, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate with your career. Join us.
Yep. All right. We will see everybody next week. Y'all have a great weekend.
See you guys and gals.